Welcome to Our View, the podcast, where we're changing the conversation about disability one story at a time. Here at Our View, we're all about education, awareness, and shifting perspectives. With each episode, we dive into honest, meaningful conversations with individuals from across the disabled community, amplifying voices, sharing lived experiences, and challenging the way society sees disability. Because disability isn't a limitation, it's a part of the human experience. So pull up a seat and join us as we broaden the view and bring real, powerful stories into focus. This is Our View. To a new episode of Our View, the podcast, where we aim to educate, raise awareness, and change the tone of conversation about disabilities. Today is a brand new episode, and today my guest is Brandon Maxwell. So thank you for joining me today, Brandon. I'm happy to have you on, and I'm happy for you to share your story with everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy to be on.
Yes, you're welcome. I start all my podcast episodes off by asking my guests to introduce themselves. So, can you introduce yourself and share your story with us and some things you like to do for fun in your spare time, if you have any? And yeah, so just tell us all about who you are, who is Brandon.
Absolutely. My name's Brandon Maxwell. I'm from San Jose, California. Um, After school, I moved to Austin, Texas, where I'm at now. Um, I have been here since 2000 and have started a new life, put roots down here. My family moved here, and I wanted to go to college, be with my family. So I've been here since then. I uh, I met a wonderful and amazing person, and have been here since. I had an amazing job that I've been doing for 20 years. I'm no longer doing that, but I work for the city. It's a city called Pflugerville, Texas. It's just north of Austin. I work for the engineering department as a construction inspector, and it's been an amazing journey. It's an amazing job. Ultimately, looking at construction, all construction projects from CIP projects, development, Parks and Rec, and just inspecting all civil engineering and working with so many different contractors and engineers and contractors. It's been amazing. I have two kids, Adrian and Isa, and it's been a fun journey. I love having fun. I love going out with my kids and exploring the world and going to concerts. You seeing them grow through school and all the different challenges and ups and downs that they have. I do play guitar. I like to dabble in music and those kinds of things. And I'm two out of seven kids, so my family keeps me busy. There's a lot going there. I'm number two out of seven. Yeah, so it's lots of fun, lots of responsibility. But yeah, it's great. So in a small nutshell, that's me, I guess you could say. Um,
Awesome.
yeah.
It's great. I when you said you were uh one out of seven, that's my mom is one of seven, and my dad is one of 10. So large family is a very
Yes.
large family where I come from. But that's great.
Yes.
The guitar, I when you said that, my dad, he played the guitar and I tried it and I just could not get the coordination of it. I tried.
Yeah. Yeah. Took me
Every
some
now and
time.
then, yeah, every now and then I think about getting back into it, and I go and look at guitars that I could possibly get, and start doing something just to
Hmm.
start as something else to learn. But
Sure.
yeah, so thank you
Sure.
for for sharing that your
And
story and about your
I'm two of seven. I'm sorry, Arthur.
okay.
My older brother would not be happy with me for I don't want to take his role, but yes, I am two of seven. But
Yeah.
yeah. Well, you should still pick up the guitar, they
Yes.
look cool and it is fun to make noise and sound and
Yes.
other things.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
and I also enjoy concerts. We were talking a little bit before we started recording. I We're recording this in April. It's April 20th actually, and I have a few summer concerts lined up with some family and friends. I'm going to see Lionel Richie and Earth, Wind, and Fire. They're
Oh,
doing
wow.
a joint tour, and then also going to see Neo and Akon, and then
Cool.
Bruno Mars is in September. So
Man, that's gonna
yeah,
be lively. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. So it's looking
Cool.
forward to all of those and any other concerts that might pop up between now and those
Heck
concerts.
yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah. So it's a good
Definitely.
time.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So uh we talked before and to have you on as a guest, I asked you to share some parts of your story. And so you shared that in 2022 you experienced a traumatic brain injury. So can you share with us about that experience, what caused the TBI and what impact has that uh TBI had on your life since then?
Sure, sure. In 2022, I was, me and my wife at the time were kind of going through a lot, our differences at that time were kind of showing themselves a little bit, and being parents and a little bit of the struggles and the things that were going on in life, with COVID and all those other things. Yeah, introduced a lot of challenges with us, and we decided to have a separation and to see where that was going to take us. And it was pretty rough on me at the time. um, it was rough on all of us, of course. And so I was going through a lot of stress and depression. I've always been a happy person my whole life, loving and caring, which I still am. But at the time, it was kind of hard, and it broke my heart. Anyways, so dealing with lots of stress and depression and being so busy at work and just everything combined, I ended up having a seizure that year, which is blew me away. I just woke up one day and I saw a bunch of firefighters looking down at me and just didn't even know what happened. And so I was like, okay, the stress and depression's really hurting me. It's really getting to me. And I went to the hospital that night. They released me. I came back home. I was taking a shower and I had another seizure in the shower. And again, wake up on the floor with firefighters looking down at me. And I was just like, wow, okay. So I knew it was a big thing and it was a real thing. It was kind of hard to take at the time. And so I ended up having another seizure later that year. I don't know exactly why, and I guess that's something I was trying to figure out through this whole process. One day, me and my ex-wife, actually at the time, or now, we were having dinner, and when we had dinner, she dropped me back off at my car, and I wasn't going to give her a hug, but she said, "You're not going to give me a hug," and I said, "Okay." Gave her a hug. Got back in my car. I'd missed a phone call from my daughter. Called her back, and I was about 4 minutes from my house at the time, and I talked to her a little bit. She was just lacing her shoe and telling me about it. And then all of a sudden, I wake up in a hospital about 2 weeks later and just was wrapped up pretty much like the Marshmallow Man, neck brace, tubes all in me, just wrapped up completely. And I look up, and my brother's looking down at me, and he's just like, I didn't couldn't talk much, but I was just like, basically, what happened? And he said, "You had a seizure. You're in the hospital, and you had a seizure in a bad car accident, and you're in the hospital." And I just couldn't believe it. I was so medicated. And he had told me that I had a seizure when I was driving. I ran off the road, off into a big field, and I hit like the only pole, like 2 feet of the pole. And beyond that, it was just an open field forever. And I just hit 2 feet of this pole, flipped my car, and that was the beginning of this new life that I'm living now. And I was in the hospital. I was in 4 different hospitals for 5 months, and it was a very long process. I'm now an AK, above the knee, dual AK, so above the knee amputee. At the time, they tried to save my legs in the hospital. I had a really bad infection throughout that process. And so I had survived the accident. I had, my left arm is fused together, it doesn't bend. my right wrist doesn't turn. They said I showed up at the hospital like I'd gone through a meat grinder. I was a head and a torso basically, and my legs were all turned around, ankle dangling off. I was really messed up, my arms dangling. Anyways, so I had a lot of different things that they were trying to restore in me. I had some hardware in my elbow that my body just rejected, and I had a lot of infections there. So they had to take that hardware out and fuse my arm together. I had and they, like I said, they were trying to save my legs. I had so much of an infection, it was killing me little by little. And they said, we have to take your legs. And so I said, okay, it wasn't that hard of a decision because this happened 2 months in. Yeah, about 2 months in. And I had just been in so much pain, was not feeling well. My family was going through so much. Uh, I could see it in their eyes that they had been going through so much. And so I just said, okay, let's take them. And that was an easy decision. Everybody was, sad for me, which I totally understand. And I just wanted to be strong for them and myself, of course. And so they took my legs. And what's crazy is like the next day, maybe even later on in that day, I just felt so much better. Like it's so amazing. I just felt better. Like, and so I knew I had made the right decision. And it was from that point, it was almost like a new starting for me. It was like, okay, so this happened. So the infection, we still got to work on that, but I'm at a new phase in my healing. And so it was still a lot of care with the nurses and doctors with my arms, with pretty much everything in my body. I had a traumatic brain injury as well. And I hit the back of my head pretty hard, in which I still have scars on the back of my head. And that was a huge undertaking for me at the time to communicate with everybody, to be able to make decisions because they were making decisions for me at that time, of course. And so there came a time where I wanted to help in some way, shape, or form. And so once I had more cognitive abilities, I was able to help and make decisions for myself and for everybody. And that was a huge, thing for all of us and for myself. And, worked with therapists throughout the process with my dexterity, and all those different things. And eventually I got better. I'm still struggling with my memory, and which I have notes for this, just in case I need to look at the notes. And so I have been able to retain some memory, lots of memory. So I'm pretty proud and happy of myself for working with those things. So it's been great. It's been a heck of a journey. Uh, and yeah, physical therapists and doctors, and I do remember that day that they said I could leave, I could get out of the hospital. I finally had reached a point where the antibiotics, which is crazy because once they took my legs, I was like, okay, so I can heal. Like, let's start moving with this process. But the antibiotics weren't killing the infections that I had, like in my elbow and the upper parts of my legs. And so I was just like so defeated, and they would walk in each day and just kind of like shake their head like, mm-mm, this one's not working. And so like each day, like I was really hoping for that. And they walked in one day over the weekend and they said, yeah, it's working. I was like, put it in my IV right now, please. Like, let's get this thing going. And so, and that was another step to my healing process. And so after that point, it was just a matter of, all right, let's go, let's do this, and whatever it's going to take, to do this. Because I want to live, I want to be with my family and my friends. I wasn't really, stress and depression was the biggest thing for me. It's crazy because I realized how much I was focusing on the wrong things, and all those things that I was focusing on just didn't matter anymore. You know, they definitely were hurting my heart at that time, and my brain just had to reset. And sadly, it reset in a car on my way home, which I didn't hurt anybody else. I only hurt myself. which I don't know how I would have lived with myself if I had hurt anybody else. I was by myself, and so that saved me a lot mentally and emotionally. So so that was huge. And forgive me, I forget where I was going with that. Um, but oh yeah, stress and depression. It's just something I forgot. I said, you know what? I'm not doing that anymore. I lived, I'm alive, I have a second chance in life, and I don't want to be stressed out. I don't want to be depressed because obviously it doesn't look good on me, you know. So I said, I'm not doing those things to the best of my ability. And I want to be able to show that to my family and friends that it's almost like a rebirth, you know, like seeing the world as a toddler, as a you know, as a newborn, and just taking in everything and just doing the best I can with those things, you know. So that's been a huge part of my journey is the stress and depression, and that's been a huge. I want to live that out, and hopefully people can see that, and I want to at least, you know, that's one of the things that it's hard to not have in our lives. Definitely stress. Depression's a whole nother thing, but stress is a hard one, you know. And I almost want I just I don't want people to hold on to the stress, you know. It's like feel your feelings, go through those feelings that you have, but just please don't hold on to them for too long, you know. Stress is a killer. We've always heard that, and it's true. You know, I'm obviously a product of that. Never in my life would I have thought that I would not have legs. I would not be able to move my arm or wrist. I mean, never, ever I would have thought that. But I am. You know, I'm here and it's me, and why not me is what I thought. You know, it's like you hear so much that's going on outside of your life, and it's like, why not me? It happens to other people, you know, and yeah, so that helped me accept my situation and my disabilities and where I'm at. And it opened a whole new community of people that I never would have thought were going through some of the same challenges and disabilities that I have. And it really opened up a whole new world and a lot, you know, things that you didn't focus on that I didn't focus on at the time because I didn't have to. And it's like when you buy a new car and all of a sudden you see the same car out everywhere and you know never saw that car you know ever, you know. And so now I see other amputees, you know, struggling, some not struggling, some thriving in life, you know, and that gives me hope in my new world. And they've been able to take me in underneath their wings and, you know, show me how they're living, show me the different things they're using. And while we all have different challenges throughout the process, I can share with them my challenges and vice versa. So we can all bounce things off of each other and, you know, live our best lives. So it's been a journey. It's still going, and I love it. You know, it's opened up a lot of doors for me, you know, doing this podcast, you know, working with Zebedee Talent Agency, who, you know, turned me on to you. So, you know, a lot of people that are looking to spread the word out into the world and put eyes on, a spotlight on, you know, the different challenges that we have, and to say that, you know, it's okay, you know, and this is what's going on out there in the world, you know. So, you know, it's been a beautiful thing, I must say. Um, I do get extra help when I go to concerts. And, you know, they're like, oh, okay, we'll help you out a little bit, you know, I get to cut lines a little bit, which is cool. So, you know, don't tell anybody, but
Right.
yeah. So, you know, on airplanes, I get a little extra help on the airplanes, and I feel bad because, you know, I get to go on the plane a little before everybody else, and you know, I get all the eyes looking at me, you know, like, sorry, you know, it's weird just being in that, you know, being in that place, you know. So, but my grandmother, she just said, just accept it, you know, just accept the help, you know, don't think twice about it, and it's just your new reality, you know. And so that's been very helpful.
Yeah, that is, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing so much of that experience and what it has been like for you. Um, for just the last few years. Like that is, I again, I've said this many times on this podcast. I love the podcast and the guests, the people that I'm able to meet through the podcast. Because again, the name is Our View. So it's not just my view, it's everybody's view of living with disabilities, different disabilities. I was born with my disability. You acquired your disability just a few years ago. And so um, to hear how, the journey that you have been on, and like you said, it continues, is, it's really great to hear that you're in, such a good space to accept, what your new life is like. And
Thank
just the
you.
fact that you want to, that you're connecting with other people in the disability community to, again, you all might be amputees, but you all have different struggles and different challenges that you face. But by sharing those with each other, you can offer some things that you do that work for you, and they can offer you some ideas that work for them. And it's just, it's really great to build, those, that community, in addition to the community you have around you with your family and your friends, because that is really, really important. And it sounds like it's very, important to you and very, helpful to you to have that, that support. It's really, really great to hear.
If I may say, I know I have acquired this in my life, and others, such as yourself, have either been born with um, whatever disability or condition that they have, and have lived their lives with those challenges. I've met so many other people in my life, and so many different conversations. Others that have acquired it, others, like I said, have had it their whole lives, and it's opened a whole new, just world for me, conversation. I've learned so much about others and different challenges that they have. And it's been a fun journey. I shouldn't say fun for everybody, but it's been very educational, and it's a beautiful thing, the strength that everybody has. That's one of the biggest things that I've seen. There's so many strong people, way stronger than me, and they say, well, no, you've been through so much and the strength that you have. And I say, well, thank you for that. But we all have our own challenges, and it doesn't, mean that, one or the other is, stronger or harder or whatever. We all, whether it's a headache, it's like that's your reality, it's what you're going through, and so it's, I don't know, that deserves love and care and attention, and we all need help. And that's the one thing I've learned throughout this process is I wouldn't be here without others in my life, helping me and giving me the strength and confidence to move forward. So it's been a good thing to meet so many other people. I do have an amputee group meeting that I go to each month, and it's other amputees, whether it be through diabetes or limb loss from an accident or trauma. And we all share our stories together. We all have a place where we can talk, and there's nobody else. We can talk about our struggles and disabilities together, and what we can do to, have hopefully that, the the community outside of us can recognize certain things that, are hard for us to deal with, and we hope that we can all share in the same struggle, not struggle, but, understanding of what those challenges are. And so and I'm rabbit trailing a little bit, but part of my job was to inspect ADA compliance. So I inspected ADA compliance, ramps, rails, sinks, lavatories, those kinds of things. And never in my life would I have thought that I would be using these personally. Within the city where I have been and where I live, I have used those same ramps that I inspected, in my wheelchair. And it's crazy, you know, uh, the things that happen in life. And so it's anyways, I could go on.
You talked about stress and, you know, like you said, like we always say, everybody experiences stress. Um, and the importance of, as you mentioned, feeling your feelings, really, having an opportunity to feel what you feel, your feelings are valid. But being able to let go of that stress is the challenge for so many people,
Hmm.
myself
Hmm.
included. It's one of those, like, I think easier said than done. It's like like
Yeah.
you want to let it go, but it's like you still hold on to it for some reason. That's just, who we are as human beings, I guess.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but for those times in your life, even in more recent years or, in the past, when you've had moments of stress and challenges, can you share with us how you work through those moments and what role your community, including your circle of family and friends, what role do they play in helping you overcome these stresses and challenges? Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a good question. It is like you said, it's just who we are as humans. And as much as I, daydreamed of not never having any of these things again, it's just it happens and it's there. And I think it's the dealing with it the best you can is I think the real work. And throughout having worked and been with the amputee group, we are able to talk about our stresses and our challenges that we have out there, and at least get that out. And everybody kind of walks away, or I should say, things we say, walk away, roll away, whatever. Better, a little lighter because we're able to like get it off of our chest and talk about it and realize that somebody else is thinking the same thing and and see what worked for them and how they overcame certain stresses in their lives. And it puts things into your mind, and ideas, and tools to be able to work within yourself, on those things. I definitely have had stress, and at the time, I think the biggest thing for me is to understand why I'm stressed. I don't think it's any different than normal. I say normal, but than before, and the way we all deal with stress. The one biggest thing I've learned within myself is to just let it go as soon as possible. Understand why I'm stressed, what emotions are behind that stress, and to realize that, it, I can make the change myself and just learn to let it go in the sense that it's going to catch up with you. It obviously kept caught up with me, and that's the scary part is letting it just sit and it turns into depression, and it's just not. It doesn't do anything for us at all. And I realize that, and yeah, I don't know. It's just the emotional side of it that's hard. And it's just coming up with different tools that we can use in different, just understanding whatever I'm stressed out about. And gosh, it's just the letting go side of it. I think that's the biggest thing. And trying to figure out a way in ourselves to take deep breaths and whatever, because we're all different, right? We all have different ways of dealing with things. And I think knowing yourself is the most important thing, knowing who you are and how you're able to let those things go, whether it be whatever breathing technique you have or yoga, or if you're not into any of that stuff, music, if you don't like music, sleeping, whatever it might be, I think you got to know yourself and how you can, work through that stress. And the biggest thing I want to say is just do your best to let it go as soon as possible, because it will catch up with you and learn what tool works for you. And so I've had to kind of just think about what tools work for me throughout this process. And I can just reflect back to what it did to me. I don't want to put it all on that, but I just I can understand what stress can do to a person and to myself, and that it wasn't a positive thing, and I want to be happy. I want to live a happy life. And so I just got to move on and not let it get to you. It's harder said than done, like, or easier said than done, forgive me.
Hmm.
And I think that's just part of who we are as humans, but don't stress out. It's,
Right.
it's so easier said than done, but no stress, anybody, okay? Just
Right.
yeah, figure out a way to let it go the best as possible. And if you can get away from that stress, get away from it. If it's something that you have that is like, okay, it is a part of your life, then please work on yourself, know what, like I've been saying. But if you can get away from it, then get away
Hmm.
from it. You know, don't put that into your life. Life is precious, and so don't waste it. And that's one of the biggest things for me is to reflect back on, like, I'm just happy to be here talking with you right now.
Yeah.
Um, each moment, life is all about moments. And so I want to live the best I can in those moments, and be grateful for what I have. And yeah, just being grateful is a big one, you know.
Yeah, I like what you said, like, finding what works for you as an individual. That may be, meditation, that may be music, it may be listening to an audiobook or reading
Hmm.
a
Hmm.
book. Finding time in the day, in the week, in the month, in the year, finding that space for you to get away from everything, I think is really important. Not everybody can take the, week-long vacation or fly somewhere or drive, take that long vacation. But finding the moments, like you said, life is made up of moments. So finding those moments in your day, in your week, in your month to that are for you to get away from everything, step away from all the stressors in your life of the world around you, and just, meditating, yoga, going to the gym, working out, whatever it is for you. And it can be different, it's different for every person. For me, it is, concerts is one of my things. Like, you would think it's like, how do you, it's like, how do you get away from everything when you're in a room with thousands of other people with loud
Right.
music? But it's just like, that's my
Yeah,
time to just really escape from everything for those couple of hours
that's
while, the
awesome.
performance is going on. And,
Yeah.
and even just at night, laying in bed and just listening to, music. I know that's not the best thing because it actually like wakes me up and gets me like really, you know,
Hmm.
keeps all
Keeps
my
the mind
brain
going.
activity going. Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah,
Yeah,
it doesn't help
yeah.
calm me down and put me to sleep. But
But
so
you know that about yourself,
I do,
and
and I
that's
still
the
do it.
biggest
So it's
part.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
But I
But
enjoy it.
you're happy. Yeah,
Right, I
yeah.
enjoy it.
It's, talking with you, talking to other people for me is a big one,
Hmm.
because you're talking, you're bouncing ideas off each other,
Yeah,
and you're letting it out, and you're finding, you're like, okay, cool. Like I learned something, and, or no, no, that,
yeah,
whatever it might be.
yeah.
But
That's not
talking to
gonna work.
others, I think is a big one for sure,
Yes, yeah.
and
Staying connected to people is really big to me. One of my friends, who I've known since middle school, and we talk every day through text. And yesterday, it was Sunday, and she sent me a text in the morning, and I responded, and then I just didn't say anything for the rest of the day. And so last night, she texted me, and she was like, "Well, what are you on a hot date or something? Like, where have you been all day?" I said, "Oh my
Aw,
God." I said, "I'm in my apartment where I usually am." And she goes, "Well, you were quiet all day long." I said,
aw,
I said, if my phone didn't ding or ring or buzz, like I didn't touch it. I didn't look at it.
aw, that's
I said,
awesome.
I said, I just needed my day to just do nothing. I said, if you texted
Yeah.
me, I did respond, but like I wasn't initiating conversation yesterday. That was just it's
Aw,
what I needed because Saturday was a
yeah,
busy day. It was a good day, but it
yeah,
was just busy. I was around a lot of people and it just like took a lot of energy. And, for Sunday, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna sit and chill. And again, if
Decompress.
my phone, if it rings, I'll pick it up, but I'm not
Hmm.
calling anybody. I'm not texting anybody, but
Hmm.
I'll respond. But
That's awesome.
yeah,
That's
so she was
awesome.
like, "Oh, okay, like just checking," because
Yeah,
usually you
yeah,
have something to say, and I'm like, I just had nothing to say. I really didn't.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Thanks for thinking of me.
right.
That means a lot, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. So I'm like, yeah, thanks for
Uh,
checking. And it was one of those things where the day had gone by and I really didn't realize that like I wasn't talking. Like I was, and I'm
oh,
like, wait. Yeah, so I did. I had
that's
to look and I'm
good.
like, wait, I did respond to
Good
her
thing.
initial text message, right? And I'm like, yeah, okay.
Aw,
Like it wasn't that
that's
bad.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so but
Mm,
yeah,
good
maintaining
for you.
those connections, those human connections with people. And having
Sure.
those people that check in on you when you
Hmm.
might be too quiet.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really important too. And
Sure.
I have a few of those types of friends that, they'll call or like, oh, okay, just checking,
Good.
just making sure you're still,
Hmm.
still my friend. I'm
Because
like,
we're
yeah,
going through
just
stuff, you know?
right, right. And everybody is, yeah, no matter
Yeah.
what it is, whether you have a disability or not, it's, everybody has their own challenges that they face. And so it is important to really check in on your people and to really,
Hmm.
just really check in and be prepared to listen and pay attention to, the things that they're saying and, um, just spreading that positivity and the love and, kindness to everybody and just to it's like you said, it's stressful out here for many different reasons for a lot of people, for all of us in different ways. So it's
Hmm.
always great, again, like you said, to have conversations with people and to just check in and making time for yourself. I think that's a really big thing that I'm glad you brought up. Whatever that looks like for you is, it's what works for you. And so that's a good way to to state that. And thank you,
Yeah.
Brandon,
Yeah.
for this great conversation, for sharing your story. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me today, and I'm excited for everyone to hear this episode.
Well, thank you very much. I really
Yes, you're
appreciate
welcome.
everything that you're doing and for having me on to have this conversation. And like I said, I know it's different from what everybody else is going through, and so it means a lot to me,
Yeah,
to speak with you, and everything you're doing. When I read up on you know just everything that you're doing with the podcast, everything that you've done, and it's so good to see others out there,
thank you.
such as yourself. So,
Thank you. Yeah, it's
uh,
really it's something, it's something that I live every day. It's not a it's work, it's a job, but it's really for me it's much deeper than that. It's all about, really wanting to make a change in the world, in just my space and the people in, my network, and just to so like with each podcast episode, with each guest sharing the episodes with their network of people,
mhm,
that's how it
mhm,
really expands itself. And just to, have those connections with people, again, from around the country, around the world, and to, really try to make a
definitely,
difference in how the world views those of us with disabilities and to make things better, more
definitely,
accessible, more inclusive, and just
certainly,
building those networks and relationships with people in ways that in ways that we can help improve the lives of those of us living with disabilities. Because again, like we've
yeah,
said,
yeah,
we're out here, we're living life, we're doing things. We're traveling, going to concerts, and doing all types of fun stuff out with our family and friends. And we need to be seen, we need to be heard, and
right,
yeah,
right. We want
things
to show
just
that
need.
to others. We
Yes,
we can live a healthy, just we can live a very amazing life regardless of what we're going through, and I
yes,
think that's good that they see that, in us,
Mm-hmm.
and it gives them hope and strength. From what I understand, some people say, wow, I saw you doing this or doing that, and it gave me a lot of strength within myself, all the struggles that I'm going through. And that just made my day. I was just so happy to hear that,
Yeah.
and you never know who you're going to impact. And
So
that's,
true. You never know who's
um,
watching and
right.
who you are inspiring,
Mhm.
who encouraging and our struggles, our challenges are different, but we can acknowledge the positivity in others and the goodness in others and what they're doing and just to keep up everything that you're doing. It's really great to talk to you, and I look forward to definitely staying in touch with you.
Definitely, definitely.
Yes.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much for
You're
everything.
welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Our View, the podcast, where we amplify the voices and stories of those in the disabled community, one conversation at a time. If this story moved you, taught you something new, or sparked a different perspective, we'd love to hear from you. Write a review of the podcast on Apple Podcast and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. Follow us on all social media platforms at Our View for Life 25. At Our View, we believe that disability is not a limitation, it is a powerful part of the human experience. So until next time, keep listening, keep learning, and keep seeing the world through our view.